Welcome to On Work and Revolution, where we talk about what's shaking up in the world of work. I'm Debbie Goodman, your host, and today we have as our guest Nichola Quail. So Nichola is the founder and CEO of Insights Exchange, which is a disruptive market research platform that connects high-growth businesses and brands with insights, analytics, and data strategy experts. So their clients include very large multinationals like Xero, Panasonic, VW, as well as some earlier stage companies who are expanding into new markets, new products, and who need data-driven insights for their business decisions. And today we're going to talk to Nichola about the impact of the massive explosion of generative AI tools on the world of market research and data analytics, what this means for the market research industry as a whole, what this means for all of us as consumers, and how generative AI will further transform the industry, our use of consumer data in the very, very, very near future. So welcome, Nichola.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So everyone's talking AI, or maybe you're just in my little echo chamber. It feels like everybody's talking AI. I think on a daily basis, I'm consuming, I can't actually count the number of articles, webinars, videos, etc., that are really talking about the massive advances, even in the last few months. You can ask them for anything with the right prompts. They can pretty much give you some mind-blowing information, and this naturally would have the most phenomenal impact, one way or the other, on your particular industry. So first question is, how has this started, or has it started to disrupt the market research industry, which at its very core has the collection and gathering and making sense of data at its backbone?
That's exactly it. It's funny. I was, at a conference a few weeks ago, and very much the same. It was front and center, hot topic. Is it going to take over our jobs? Is this industry even going to exist in 5 years? But it's with what has happened with ChatGPT. So yes, it absolutely has almost overnight changed the game in terms of opening up the power of AI to a wider audience. But we've been playing in this space for some time now, particularly in the structured data space. So in the quantitative space, as you can imagine, the volume of data that comes out of doing, large scale research. And so companies like Yabble, a New Zealand startup in the AI space, Get Thematic, they've been doing AI analysis for many years now. But what it's been educating the market about that. And so what's changed the game with ChatGPT is not only the availability of this tool, but now that suddenly everyone is kind of jumping on board and understanding what it can do for them, but also the ability for unstructured data analysis, which is, as you said, is a game changer. Structured data is where it's numbers. So it's very, it's your ones, your twos, your 80%, your 30%, and it's an open-ended question, and answer. So it's very, ask it one thing and you're pretty sure what you're going to get on the other, and you can code that out into different themes. Unstructured data is a conversation, and this is where the game-changing nature of this next evolution of AI. So it's anything that happens on social media, anything that happens in a consumer review, anything that happens in our world, qualitative research. So that is where we go into an interview or a focus group. We've got some hypotheses, but we're not totally sure what's going to come out. And you can imagine the sheer volume of those conversations. And back in the day, we would have to manually read through, pages and hours of transcripts. So the transcript business model is certainly a key one that's going to be disrupted. And then we would have to find themes, and we would code that and try and turn that unstructured data into structured data. So it would be like 80%, 80% are saying this, but it was a very long and manual and expensive task.
Okay, so as I've understood it, it's the ability now to aggregate, synthesize, collate massive amounts of data points incredibly quickly and come out with some kind of sense at the end of 30 seconds?
That's exactly it. But not only data points, and this is again the key difference, human data points. And that's the difference, because when we are dealing in, code, numbers, statistics, it's easier to train a model to understand that, because it's essentially just advanced coding. Where the game changer has happened is again, it's called natural language processing. So it's actually interpreting and aggregating human conversations and human data. And we talk in many different ways across many different countries in many different languages. We have our own vernacular, we have our own slang, we have our own meanings for things. And so qualitative researchers had to interpret that and find those meanings and then translate that into a strategic insight for a brand. But what's happening now with this next evolution of AI is that the training models, the huge training models that are now being opened up to the world, it's almost just, it's speeding up that process. So now that they can interpret at scale human data.
Okay, so the interpretation piece is something I want to ask more about. Interpretation is always open to bias. And so I've heard very conflicting viewpoints on this. The one saying that if there's bias in whatever's being interpreted, if there's bias in the language, then the AI is going to feed off that, and the analysis or the insights or whatever comes out of it will have inherent bias. And then I've heard other viewpoints that say, actually, you're excluding human interpretation. You've just got the AI tool doing that, and therefore you reduce bias. So what is it?
This is, as you can imagine, a very hot topic, but, has been a hot topic well before AI. And, even in just how things used to be coded, dare I say it, it used to be sort of your young European males who would do traditionally coding. So bias is everywhere. Bias is, humans have bias, and AI naturally will have some bias in it because of how it's been trained. But where, again, the evolution of this next stage of, with ChatGPT means that the sheer volume and diversity of data sets that it's now been trained on. So it's essentially data in, data out. And so with AI, it can only learn what is being put into it. But the volume of what's been put into it now means that, yes, there'll have to be regulation around certain types of bias. And I think that's possibly even the wrong, it's a misnomer. It's almost about the diversity of the data that is coming out. And we know for a fact that it is a much more diverse data set, emerging. But then that's also the role of, in our space, human researchers, highly experienced, specialists in this space that deeply understand human behavior. It's about contextualizing what comes out of the AI. So look, if you just go to a client and present something that the AI spat out and you don't disclose that it was generated by AI, then potentially you're opening up a door for, somebody to say that's incorrect, or, I don't agree. And this is where humans and AI now need to work together, hand on hand, because we still need that human lens overlaying and interpreting and ensuring that exactly to your point, what the AI is saying based on our knowledge of a culture, a brand, a context, a consumer buying pattern based on all our years of experience, that, it's on track. And then it can enhance our ability to go deeper with those insights, do higher level thinking around that, because all it's really doing is just taking away that work and that effort and that time of trawling through all of that data. And it's just surfacing some of those, all those high level insights, but then it gives us the ability to go deeper on that.
Aside from the ability to accelerate and trawl through so much data very quickly, my question is, what about the interpretation of that in terms of forecasting and analyzing analytics and insights for future predictions or recommendations that I would imagine is also core to your business. You gather the data in order to make some recommendations. Can the AI tools do that well enough yet, or are they paused at the point of here's the information, now you decide what to do with it?
That's pretty much it. But I'm saying that now in April 2023. So yeah, I'm sure in 12 months' time that won't stand true. But look, it's only learning, it's not learning even what's happening today. It can only learn up to a certain point. But again, it could absolutely predict, and it's called predictive analytics. It's an industry in our space. And look, hand on heart, 110%, I would say yes, it can. But again, this is where the human, so our researchers, they understand the client, they understand the needs of the client, they understand the client's business model. Yes, you can feed that all into the AI and it'll give you a great recommendation, but then how do you translate that into human speak, and even have a person presenting it and take that client on that journey and say, this is where, we recommend you could go in 5 years. Let's workshop that out. Let's talk that out. Are there any fears? Do you have any concerns? You're having a conversation. And look, if I was a client, and I've worked with a lot of fast growth startups, this market research space is very new to them. And they're nervous about talking to their customers and consumers because, they're not always sure what they're going to say. And they're like, will they like my product? Will they like my service? And, no AI can sugarcoat that. It's very blunt in how it will, talk about that and summarize that. But it's then the delivery and how you layer that. A human interface is still required.
So let's talk about that, the augmentation or supplementation in the workplace with AI and humans, because I think certainly in my world, we run a group of executive search and leadership coaching companies. It's all about people and their advancement and their careers and their next jobs. And there's a lot of fear around, particularly those who are witnessing before their very eyes, how these AI tools, particularly ChatGPT, which is the most, it's got the biggest adoption, how that is taking on certain tasks. I was reading a stat that said that currently, even at management level, AI tools can take on 31% of manager level tasks. And so there's no job, certainly in the professional knowledge worker space, that's not going to be impacted by this. I think a lot of the time when we're experimenting with these tools, people are looking for, slight opportunities to go, oh no, but it can't do this as well as me, and it can't do this like a human, and oh, we'll always have our place here for X. But each day I'm seeing those beliefs being chiseled away bit by bit. So what do you think currently, and perhaps even for the short-term future, the relationship between the AI tools and humans are? Where does the one supplement the other? Where's the other needed? What are the key elements to that?
Look, in our space, and I think in many different industries, all it's doing, if you think about the calculator, if you think about the computer, if you think about Google, we've been through this disruption. And yes, this disruption is probably like nothing we've ever seen before, but it's more just the speed than anything else. I mean, Google was pretty disruptive in its time. And really, we will adapt. We've adapted for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We'll adapt again to this. And some jobs absolutely are going to be basically non-existent in a few years' time. But it's really just how we adapt. And for me, I see it as a huge opportunity because, again, like when we got the car, it's doing is taking away some more of those manual tasks. And in our world, it's data analysis, it's churning through high volumes of data, and only because, we now produce so much data. And so then for me, it frees up us to be more human and, in many different industries, having in-person conversations. I mean, you think about what we lost during COVID, having those in-person really physical contact, but, we are in qualitative research, we're in the world of, body language and facial cues and, speech recognition. but just again, having a human conversation. And I don't know about you, but I don't get the same feeling from my computer as I do having a human to human conversation. And I'm sure that will come, but I think about, even in recruitment, like, yes, great. It's going to cut down all that annoying thing of going through CVs and, but taking someone on that journey, briefing them on their first job interview, that's human. That's like, and you've got someone in your corner and you trust them and you feel safe with them. And in our world, we do that with consumers in terms of we want to understand their fears, their concerns, their needs, how they feel about their kids, what that means for a consumer brand. You've really got to take someone on a journey to get them to open up like that. It's sort of feeding that into an AI machine, that's past. You've still got to go and get the data to feed into the AI, and that's still a human role.
In your current world of work, like right now, April 2023, are you disclosing to clients when you use generative? And what is their approach? Do they like it? Are they skeptical? Tell me, how's that working?
Oh, look, it's funny, and this came up in a webinar recently that my colleague was on, Catherine Top from Yabble. So we've been partners with Yabble for years now. Our businesses have grown up together. And we say it with pride that, our AI partner, Yabble, is baked into our process. And it's all about providing efficiencies to the client and value, saving them money. We're like, gosh, we get to, pay our researchers for the high value work, not the, churning through loads of data and spending hours that you're paying for to do that. We 100% disclose where it's been generated by AI. And look, I think, pre-ChatGPT, people didn't quite understand what that meant and didn't really worry, it was just part of the process. Some were intrigued by it, whereas now everyone really understands it, and we certainly haven't had any pushback. It's more, how much more can you do as a result of this? And, we know what's coming sort of in our space and many other spaces is, the analysis of video. So for example, us recording this, the AI will be able to analyze our facial features, our body language, our muscle movement, what we're really feeling, and, images and sound. And we certainly know that's coming in different products and devices that are going to be game changing, for health, healthcare and all that we're testing at the moment. But it needs to be 100% disclosed, mainly because also I would want it to be, because it's what we add on top of that is the secret sauce. And, so then I go, well, if it's all just AI, they're going to get the same report from lots of different people and it's all just AI generated,
How are you seeing the impact of the projects that you're delivering on now using AI? Is it just about speed and efficiency, or is there something else that's changing the nature of your work?
At the moment, it's just about speed and efficiency, and then providing those, handing over those cost savings to our clients. But we know that will change, and that's going to change quickly. So then it will change into the types of analysis we can do. There may be times when, no, we don't actually have humans involved in our types of research deliverables. But where I'm excited about that, because I've always been excited about being able to provide as many different businesses as possible with the access to data and insights to help drive growth. It's something I've always believed in, but it's been quite cost prohibitive for a lot of businesses. And that is because of the human cost of getting fantastic researchers on board, and as well as consumers. So this, in terms of startups doing sort of, whether it's a market, analysis, a competitor analysis, even product market fit. So for them, being able to have access, still led by an expert, but having one expert that can help sort of craft that journey, feed in the right questions to the AI, and then be able to interpret the results in with an expert lens. But the cost of being able to do that will significantly reduce. And then for me, imagine every SME, which is the backbone of, most countries' business community, then, for them, that's a huge game changer to have that access.
So kind of democratizing access to market research as a tool, because now the grunt work of it is being automated in such a simple way, and the real high value is more affordable. So that sounds like first of all, a very optimistic look at things. I'm excited and optimistic, even though I am a little nervous about the dark side of what some of these tools are already showing up as being able to do. I've seen some fascinating things on social media in the last few days, literally. There is the potential for the dark side, but I'm very excited to hear how this can positively impact all businesses with, let's just talk in this one tiny niche of market research, where now all of a sudden it becomes so much more affordable that humans can be used for the high level stuff and provide access to organizations that wouldn't have been able to even consider using this as a tool for business decisions because it was just too expensive. That's like a blue ocean market for market research all of a sudden.
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, and that's what really excites me. So, and again, it's an AI and a human working together. I don't think you should. My personal opinion is, startup founders shouldn't go crazy and going into it on their own, unless they really know what they're looking for, what questions to ask, and what they're going to use with the data. And that's where having some expert guidance can really help.
Yeah, well, actually, let's just hone in on that, because now all of a sudden, everybody is an expert on, just use the right prompt. And now everybody is a market research expert because we've got access to all this data. But I guess it's a little lacking in rigor and the frameworks for proper market research.
Well, and sometimes it makes stuff up, it's kind of like, I need to find an answer because, that's what I'm supposed to do as an AI tool. So then it just makes stuff up. And, to the untrained eye, they don't know any different. So they just take it as gospel. And that's where I just go, there are people out there with a lot of experience that can just do a bit of a sense check and fact check. And exactly to your point about, the dark side, I mean, I'll go into politics, but that could get me in trouble. But yes, fact checking is a good thing.
Nichola, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm delving into so many different industries that are starting to feel the impact quite suddenly on their doorstep. And some are really fearful and running for the hills. Others are like you, so optimistic about the potential, but, cautious and also not racing too far ahead in terms of what the AI's capabilities actually are. This is an evolving story. I feel like, breaking news, but actually an evolving story. And amazing to hear what you're doing. And thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. No, it's an exciting time and the genie's out of the bottle. We can't go back. So now it's just about how do we adapt, evolve, and, use it in the best way possible to improve humanity.
Okay, I'm going to end on that note. Bye now.
Thanks.
Thanks for hanging around all the way to the end. It would mean the world if you would rate and review on Work and Revolution on your favorite listening app. It helps people know that the show is worth listening to, and so I'll really appreciate that. Thank you so much.